Hello, I'm Nikki and welcome to my podcast. I'm an actor, personal branding coach, writer, speaker, podcaster and mum of two. I'm here to support you, to help you to build your personal brand so you do more of what you love and less of what you don't. Creating your own gig so you can monetize your skills, experience and talents is really exciting and fulfilling, but also it can be daunting. And often when there is a new level, there's a new devil right behind it. Here you'll find a safe space. I'll be opening up conversations and exercises around money, getting visible, becoming an expert, attracting your ideal clients, and the big juicy topic of mindset. There'll be lots of solo episodes, but also interviews with founders, authors, creatives, content creators, digital and well-being experts. As I say in my speaking gigs, I don't want you just to feel all inspired and motivated. I want you to make some moves and take action. So firstly, tag me across social media. Let me know where you're listening and what you're going to do. And then book a free strategy call with me via my website, nikkiravy.com/free session. I'm so excited to share these episodes with you. So if you do like them, please do leave a 5-star rating, subscribe and share. And I can't wait to hear more about what you're building. I'm talking to Rev Gail, Love Schock. This episode may be just what we all need, a really lovely, nurturing, nourishing chat. Gail is a master of devotion and ritual, and she's a celebrant and interfaith minister. And you may be hesitant just as I'm saying that, like, oh, but I'm not spirit. Oh, is this about business? What's she doing? Where's she gone? What's it all about? It's about feeling good is what this episode is about. It's hopefully going to drop some lovely nuggets of wisdom to warm you up, to make you feel less alone, and to ease you into the next minutes, the next hours, whatever it might be, wherever you might need help, and just to open up this really lovely conversation. Please let us know where you're listening. Come and tag us over on Instagram at Nikki Raby. And also, if you have any thoughts, please feel free to email me and let me know what you found useful, what you want more of. I'm going to be popping up here a lot over the coming weeks. I needed a bit of time just to step back, reflect, have a word with myself, but we're back. We're back in the room, and watch this space. There's going to be some lovely chats coming your way. Also, if you love the episode, please share it with a pal who may really benefit from it. And if you feel called to, do hop on over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review. It really helps for people to discover the podcast. Here it is. Hello, everyone. How are you? We are doing a live podcast recording this lunchtime. I'm really excited. Right. I'll just wait for Gail to find us in the land of the internet world, and then I'll be able to hook her up. We're recording it for a podcast. Hello. We're not in Kansas anymore, guys. Here she is. Yay! We actually look like sisters with the there's a Celtic connection here. Hello.
Real experience happening. Yeah.
Exactly. Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. That was exciting. Trying to get in.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Well, I think we're all from the generation of going live and doing 081 whatever it was, and be like, oh my goodness, we're going to get on the telly. I'm going to meet the peoples. Oh gosh. So welcome everyone. If you're just hopping on, we're going to do a live podcast recording. Gail's been on my list for a while. My love wish list, because I just love what you do. I love your calming nature. I love your IGTVs, and never before has your voice been needed in the world. So I'm really interested in how that personal quest and that personal message meets business, and that sort of lovely sweet spot. So yeah, just to start, I guess, would you tell us what you do and how you would describe your brand, and I guess where you're up to?
Yeah, sure, sure. So I'm Reverend Love Shock, and I'm an interfaith minister, which means I basically minister to whomever needs it, wants it, desires it, doesn't know they need it, which is very much about tending to our spiritual care. So that's very much about tending to what I refer to as the three centers: the head, the heart, and the hara. And it's also that weaves itself in terms of ceremonies, so baby blessings, weddings, marriages, funerals, rites of passage, new properties, home blessings, product blessings, conscious coupling, conscious uncoupling, so divorce, for example, you know, which is all very interesting right now because lots of people are postponing weddings. So how do we attend? How do I attend to them? It's very likely we'll see the divorce rate go up as well.
Yeah.
Increase, very very likely. I think I don't know that without spiritual direction, if people are equipped to attend to what their real needs are and how to ask for them. So there's also a lot of conscious conversation that can be happening. And then, in parallel with that, I'm a teacher ultimately. So you can call, I'm not a coach. You're not going to get a, whoo, yay, what's your goal?
You're not going to chest pump me. What?
No, I am.
Oh, God. Get out. Go. Gosh, that's so interesting what you say about conversation, because that's right. So many of us, because of the world we live in, we can be so distracted all the time. Busy. I'm so busy. I'm fine, but I'm busy. And there's nothing like being in the same room with those people that supposedly you know they're your nearest and dearest, but it brings out all of the things. So I guess, what does that look like in terms of your week, and how do you interweave who you are and your work? Because you're bringing a lot of yourself to your work, but what does that look like in terms of the rhythm, I guess, of how you combine the two?
Well, I mean, in terms of what does a week look like, I was just laughing then, because it's so varied. It's just, and that is part of what I really enjoy about it. So, for example, so today has been as simple as, from a work point of view, creating some graphics for something that we'll probably talk about later. I respond to the daily nudges from my personal practice of meditation. So I'm not doing anything unless my inner being is telling me to do that. That's how I work. I'm really in tune with what that is now. I've got 20 plus years of solid practice, so I'll never do anything anybody else tells me to do unless it's come from inside my heart, basically.
Totally. I felt like my 17-year-old sassy version of myself, like, knew best, and like, she's there if I need her, like, no. Like, and she's not spiritual in the slightest. She's mainly drunk, probably, but yeah, it is that sense of like, no, it's negative. No, not today. Or yeah, I'm all in. I'll see you at 6. Yeah, it's a lovely way of working.
Yeah, absolutely. There's often a conversation. I've got spiritual client calls this afternoon, so spiritual counselling that takes up, kind of that fills my schedule quite a lot. So giving people time to sit in a lot more silence than they might be used to. So with spiritual counselling, for example, again, it's not coaching, it's not mentoring, it's not psychotherapy, but it is a real opportunity to allow you to sit in quiet with faith or the God of your understanding, or your agnostic position, or just simply having that space to hold for you. From a ceremony point of view, I could be writing a eulogy for a funeral and then being in service and delivering the funeral. I could be writing a baby blessing. I could be writing, I could be working with the couple on their vows. And ceremony. I could be planning to teach, because I teach a lot of online classes and have a large online classroom, and also responding to different inquiries, whether that's coming through. More and more what I'm seeing is different leaders are waking up. What do I mean by that? I mean people who look after big teams. I mean people who are working with their organisation. At the moment as well, there's an increase in demand for the Enneagram, which is really fantastic. So for me, that's a tool that really just helps us understand how we show up in the world, and then it gives us some space to be able to basically reduce judgment and increase compassion. And I think right now as well, it's also about staying in a place of common sense, and actually just remaining. I'm having a lot of conversations with people who are saying they feel really ungrounded, but for me, it's not possible to be ungrounded. That's actually it's like a pseudo spiritual term that we use now. Like I'm just feeling, what we actually mean is I feel vulnerable. I feel a little bit frightened, and I'm not sure how to secure myself. So for me, it's also about making sure people understand all of those things. And then, that's, kind of in that rhythm moves and changes and shifts around, but that's ultimately what a work week looks like. And then either, side of that, have my own spiritual practice, which takes probably an hour or so in the morning, which is always meditation, even if it's just 15 minutes, positive aspecting, having a conversation with the source of my understanding, going on a treasure hunt, either around or out in nature, and just constantly kind of checking where I'm at in terms of levels of consciousness, levels of language, really commanding myself and how I'm showing up as myself. So from where do I stop and the business ends, I don't think there's any differentiation. I'm exactly the same. 20. I haven't got time, honestly, to try and be one thing to Instagram and one thing to my husband. They're the same.
Yes. I mean, if anything, I'm wearing a bra more often offline than online. But so if you had the career advisor that sat you down, and hi everyone who's joining, by the way, when you had that moment of like, okay, what am I gonna do with the rest of my life? And at the time of education, it was about ticking boxes. And is it an estate agent? Is it an accountant? What's the sensible next step? How did you follow your own way, and how did you have that trust that you knew that you could listen to the internal rather than the external? I mean, mine is a slightly different way, but I was always like, I'm going to be an actor, so like this is what I'm going to do, mum and dad. And they were like, oh, okay, so all right. And I think they just thought I might grow out of it. And even the careers advisor said, don't get too big for your boots though, Nikki, like stop, because they want to tick boxes, they want to make things sensible. What did that process look like for you?
Well, for me, in a strange way, there's not a lot of dissimilarities between where I was as a kid and where I am now. I was always interested in faith. I was always interested in where and how we could be united. I remember various conversations, because I was an actor and a dancer as well, and me, basically that being a celebrant and an interfaith minister, because my gigs have got guaranteed audiences.
I've played to some very small audiences in my time. Not all of them were awake, probably either.
But that for me, all that training is just exactly where I'm at. That competency building, that confidence building, that understanding, even how to dress, present myself, to learn a script. Like learning a eulogy off by heart.
Yeah.
I mean, that's from years of script learning, that's from years of presentation.
Yeah. And being able to show up on demand as well, like the show must go on, like tough, and it builds a good discipline actually, that, you know, well, I'm sorry, but I've committed to this thing, so off we go. It's tough if you've got a bit of a headache. We're doing it.
There's nobody else that can turn up and be Reverend Gail Loveshock.
No.
You know, it's not possible. So,
no. There might be a drag version one day. I mean,
I'm calling that in.
Call it in right now. Yes.
I'm available for that tour. But you know, it's things like I remember talking to like a career guidance coach actually about being a speech therapist, and so much of my work when I was really emerging as a coach and a mentor was around voice freedom, still is around voice freedom, and still is around this idea of understanding who or what has been a voice thief to us, which as far as I'm concerned is a spiritual form of occupational speech therapy.
Yes.
You know, so that makes lots of sense to me, that there's similarities in that. And you know, even the office gigs I had, or you know, because I worked as a producer as well, and as a huge investment raiser, and all of these things ultimately are all linked in that they are to do with compassion and support and helping people, and not from you know, that kind of place of you must make sure your cup is full, because you absolutely must, but actually joy is even deeper than that. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what we're born and we're primed for. We're born for joy, we're born for happiness, and I'm here to teach you that actually I will help you get your foundation lifted so that your positivity comes up and reaching mine, because this isn't moving, it's only going up. You know, it's only going up, it's only. So for me as well, there's just a huge, you know, kind of place that the gap that we have and what we're seeing again around the world right now is this extraordinary opportunity to drop from head into heart, and then to take everything that, again, from a spiritual or a practical or common sense point of view that we've been learning, and then embody it, and then relax, and then allow, and then, you know, move from that place, as opposed to I've cleaned all the inside of the windows, you know, everything's ironed, all great, but also all distraction. So.
Yes. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and she was talking about a goal that she wanted to work on, but she said, I heard myself saying, I'll start that once I've done something else. And the two were completely unrelated to each other. And then she said, and then I heard your voice as I was convincing myself of that, and said, actually, I could run these two things side by side. And it's something that pops up for so many of us all the time, like I'll be happy when, or the perfection, I've got to get this absolutely right. And actually, you've got to find you find the answers by being in the flow. You get better at running by having your trainers on, not by, you know, wandering around sweaty Betty going, gosh, I wonder what that looks like. I often use an analogy with my clients of sometimes you just got to get in the water. You've got to get in that swimming pool. You've got your head, got to get it right under the water. Otherwise, you're just wandering around going, wonder if it's cold in there. Wonder if it's hot. How deep is it? What's it like? Oh, am I going to be able to? And yeah, that's the kind of magic that you get in there. What does your process with people look like? Do people know the answers that they're hopefully looking for, or do they often come through fog and are hoping for the mist just to slightly clear?
It's a combination. So I think there's people who know where they are and what they want, and they basically want a very traditional spiritual mentor who they can come and say, this is what's happened in the last 4 weeks, here's the things I've noticed, I'm really thrilled with this piece of data, this intelligence is fascinating to me. You know, I did observe and witness the dissolving of the things that are in between me and my peace. And then people that are coming who maybe don't have that connection to clarity in that same way, and actually a little bit like what you're talking about, they've actually caught too many other people's opinions.
Yes.
So they're shrouded in other people's ideas. They're shrouded in, I tell you what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
Which people all the time, and I say, that's great, you go and do that. That's lovely. But you know, look, Nikki, I tell you what you want to be doing right now. This is what you should be doing. It's not your idea, so probably doesn't make any sense. And unless you're sitting in an environment where actually you're inviting that conversation in, it's just another thing that can stick to us. So also for me, there's this idea of kind of taking off the overcoats that don't belong to people and being like, is this yours? No, let's hang it up.
Right.
Is this one? Put that over there. No, right. And then, you know, when we can cut, then I can see the person. So the process is really in the beginning. It is a conversation. I want to understand where they're at. I want to understand where they're really at. And then I want to understand where they're really, really at. And then I want to make sure that's what they understand true too. I want to understand that they really do have a spiritual practice, because just the truth is 9 times out of 10 people say they do and they don't. And they think about it a lot, but they don't practice, you know. So for me, that's always, you know, getting the real basics taken care of, meditation, starting to pay attention to the little things, like, do I even like the smell of the shower gel, for example, or this jumper, why am I wearing this jumper? You know, we start to stop paying attention to all these things, and this, it cuts across whether you're, you know, an entrepreneur, whether you want to be an entrepreneur, whether you're 9 to 5, whether you're a shift worker, whether you're frontline, whether you're military, whether you're a politician, whether you're a celebrity. All the different people that I work with, they, at some point they'll have been wearing someone else's overcoat. At some point they'll be wearing somebody else's kind of perfume of ideas. No conversation through personal salons, ultimately, where we're just relaxing. The thing about my work is people always think it's going to be incredibly intense and almost there's almost this fear of it actually being quite hard or quite painful. But actually it's the softness that allows the dissolving, again, that we spoke about earlier, and that's what I'm interested in. I'll tell and teach people how to breathe properly. I want to understand what people's breathing patterns are, because that tells me what their living patterns are. And, you know, when you have a collective of people who have not been breathing for a really long time, we get respiratory interruption, and we get it on a global scale. So then what everybody is invited to do is to be able to, again, drop into the body, drop into the lungs, drop into the heart space, and ultimately discover how, moving through the rest of their life, they can facilitate their ongoing happiness, their ongoing joy, their ongoing abundance, prosperity, creativity, harmony, connection, support, knowing that the God of their understanding is looking right back at them as much as they're looking out over the skyline, and that focus, that path, you know, whatever that might be, if you're walking it consciously and you know where you're at and you understand your own energy levels and you are able to listen to those nudges and those dings and those moments, then you need to constantly be in co-creation, because it's never going to be done. It'll never be complete. But our body will. And that, for me, is where the interfaith ministry comes in, because what's happening also at the minute is we're seeing a massive epidemic of death fear, whereas my spirit will continue. So when my body completes, whenever that is, I'm good, because actually I'll be going.
My work is only half done. Like, we're moving, we're shaking.
100%. So, you know, there's a rhythm to it. You know, I work again with the Enneagram, the system, to understand where people are at. I work with a lot of the hero and the heroine journey. I work with a lot of archetypes. But ultimately, again, I want to understand the myths that the person is living, particularly societal grandiose myths. And I want to get a hold of them by the scruff of their neck and get them out. So that we slowly unlock the person, the connection to the inner being, and then that is where that confidence comes from. That's where that peace comes from. That is where that happiness comes from, no matter what is happening, it's all around us.
I know in my life when I've had those moments of everything feels like it's crumbling, where I felt so off in terms of who I am, who I want to be, what my day-to-day things look like. I've seen it several times where everything almost has to crumble to dust or crumbs or something like that, and then you rebuild again. And that process has just been so fascinating of seeing who that is, and remembering somebody made a reference the other day about our current times at the moment, that what our ancestors did in terms of the war and their stoicism and what they brought to the table. And I think I've said it on the podcast previously, but I have there's an interesting connection with my daughter and my partner's grandma, and they were conceived and died in the same 24 hours. And there's something very it's very, there's some kind of real, not security, but there's just such it's so fascinating to me, the way that things are. And that's been something I've really been playing with, in like, you've done this before, you've got this. And the other day I had a sense that I wanted to do a grounding exercise from drama school, all of those like feel into your body, feel at like what your feet feel like flat on the floor, and just reminding yourself of like the journeys that your feet have taken on you. Like, they've been to all kinds of places for 38 years. My feet have been doing clever, brilliant things. I mean, they could probably do with a pedicure right now, but we're not talking about that. But sometimes it's just those reminders in this busy life of who are you, what are you doing. And certainly at this point, people can't necessarily be easily identified with, we always go to this restaurant on a Friday night, or this, by showing up at the golf club, it shows that we're this kind of person and therefore we are X, Y, and Z. It is about being with yourself and what you're doing. When I see your brand online though, and when I hear you speak, it's so relevant, it's so current, it's so fresh. How did you go to, I don't want to say creating a personality because it's you, but how did you make that digital and open it up to the masses, in terms of, I guess, in inviting clients to join, because the things that you do are a paid service and all the rest of it, but opening that net wider so people feel safe, rather than just the one-on-one work that you do?
It's such a good question, and in truth, I'm not 100% sure how to answer it, because for me, I live now because that's all that there is, and so all I can give you is where I'm at right now, and I've done that my whole life, and I think the consistency of that I'll look like this, or I'm in my big blue jumper and my gnome hat, or I'm running around the woods, or and just sharing exactly what is happening in my body, in my time, in my life, and that I think when I've tried to plan, for example, things to do with social media, it just hasn't felt right, because I think part of what the magnetism of my content is that basically that's how I wake up feeling, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. And I think because we are these energetic beings, I think the energy can be felt if it's something that was written a fortnight ago.
Yeah.
And what I mean? And I think that's beautiful. And I think there's a brand point where that happens. If Cartier are doing that, or if Hotel is doing that, or if Adidas are doing that because they've been co-creating with Beyonce and they have to put something in the pipeline. Sure, totally, that makes complete sense because they've got different time schedules. But for myself, I'm in service, in connection, and in the inner world, and so that's what I'm going to tell you in the morning that I wake up. And if it is of service to you, the truth is that's a bonus because it's in service to me in the first place.
Right.
I'm delighted that other people find it magnetic and attractive and wonderful. But my really intention is my own happiness and personal freedom.
Beautiful. Yeah.
You know, and so the other people are like, well, what is this daily happiness and personal freedom that she speaks of? You know, this is interesting.
Yes.
Or, you know, if it comes to like a traditional, you know, traditional marriage, for example, then, you know, a couple, as is often the way, you know, somebody will get in touch, or one of the couple will get in touch and say, like, my partner loved you on Instagram, or subscribes to your newsletter, or came to a workshop or something, or heard the story or some thing. And you know, and because of being an interfaith minister, I just get to do so much more ultimately. And you know, at the moment, I'm writing and planning with a couple for you know, a Scottish Jewish wedding, which is just an absolute dream come true. That you know, that I can spend my day writing stories of people's love and remind them of that. Because again, that's also woven into all of my work. Whoever you are, if you're coming to me for a one-to-one, if you're one of my students, if you're one of my families, as I refer to them with weddings and ceremony work, what I'm reminding you of is that there is an infinite, unbound, unlimited supply of love, and there is this extraordinary focus that comes in, you know, when we are planning ceremony. And for some reason we have a terrible habit of thinking it just has to be to these traditional ceremonies, but you can do that for yourself every day. And that's what I do, and that's what my husband and I do, and that's what Shadow and Pat and my husband and I do. You know, there is this morning ritual that is about, you know, connecting to the inner world before we connect to the outer world, that, you know, that using very particular language, continuing to educate ourselves and elevate where we are, noticing very quickly if something has penetrated, you know, that ultimately that sphere of being, this incredible being ultimately, which again we all are. So, you know, and particularly with the sound of me as well, there is a resonance and a tone, there is a way I sound, there is a lilt, there is a cadence that is extraordinarily comforting to thousands and thousands of people thus far, and will continue to reach more people. So the newsletters, for example, that I share, I now share the audio love letter version, so people can read or they can listen. And that is just that there's no explanation for that other than it connects to something because of the vibration of my voice, because of the tone, because of the sound. And again, going back to our previous conversation, training as an actor, training as a dancer, training as a voiceover actor, this is why I can tell stories. So when you've got a story that knows how to tell stories, it can help you tell your stories, if they are your stories, or if they are myth and legend. You know, then we can really start to bring something together, because ultimately I'm a storyteller who can weave, and can weave magic in the sense that there is soothing, there is calmness, there is softening, there is holy shit, it could be a bit easier. What do you know?
Yeah.
I could choose the path of least resistance. What would that look like?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it maybe wouldn't have to hurt, or I wouldn't maybe I could show up and be exactly who I wanted to be. Fancy that. I love that sense of knowing that whatever happens, you come first, and the work is working. And I had that realization with acting of, you know, for years it was that, oh gosh, maybe this is going to be, maybe this one, oh, am I going to get this? And, you know, all your friends and family are always like, oh, go on, please let her have it. And there's that weird funky energy that's not helpful. And I suddenly had this shift of, whether it's a yes or no from this person, I'm doing it anyway. And that shift changed my creativity completely, because again, it's about going inside, like, what do I need to share? What's on my heart? What can I not say like that, and sort of moving forward in that way. And you're so right, in terms of meeting people where they're at. Sometimes people need to hear it, and specifically from you, that not in an email which is caught up with the email from the gas company or whoever, but just have those 5 minutes. Because we all talk about self-care in terms of going to spas and wandering around in dressing gowns, and or going to Bali. It's all become very Instagrammable, but actually that work for self-care is not when I'm vlogging it.
No, I know, and I love what you're saying there, and there's something in that. So for me, one of my teachings is, when you come to meditate every day, come to meditate as if for the first time, because it totally takes the pressure off the practice of yesterday, because that's gone, it doesn't exist anymore. And similarly, when we meet one another, whether it's friends, family, loved ones, clients, I meet everybody as if for the first time, and I meet myself now every day as if for the first time. Now, this morning in particular, when I woke up and then was in coming through my practice, I had the real sense of it truly being a fully new day, completely separate from yesterday and tomorrow. And there is this, it's difficult to put language to, but there is this understanding that I don't even have to think about yesterday. In fact, there's no point in trying to bring any of it in or move it through or return to it, because it really isn't there. And so there's a wonderful sense again of, if we can meet ourselves as if for the first time every day, then we can also start to put down some of that self-harm, whether that is physical, emotional, verbal, judgmental, comparison. We can put down the idea of that anybody could ever be unworthy or imperfect, also not possible. And this idea, therefore, again, that when we come with extraordinary beings who, squish themselves into these wee tiny bodies, as far as I'm concerned,
right?
To have the human experience, to have this contrast of which we have a mega teaching module going on right now, holy smokes, but my job, I feel, as myself as a teacher, and as a minister, is to stand in the middle of that infinity sign, to stand in the middle of that 8, and know that contrast will come and contrast will go, and joy will come and joy will go, and every state will change, and sadness will come, and when it does, I fully embrace it, lie on the floor, and lament like a good Celtic creature that I am, and then emerge, and when love and joy is here, I can fully embrace that. I also enjoy, some revenge fantasies now and then, but I try and keep them under 30 seconds, because I've got too many other things to be enjoying, and I don't want to put that forward. I don't create, you start to feel heavy, see. And actually, I'm interested in that feeling of lightness. I'm interested in people feeling flexible, adaptable, fleet of foot. I'm interested in ease. I'm very interested in all of these. I'm interested in people being their artist, their sculptor, being the potter and the pottery. I'm really interested in people working with the heart and the hands, working however it's coming through words, clothing, a meal, how somebody folds the dry washing, how someone opens the door, how someone writes a letter. This is all art. It's all art, and so I'm really interested again in how we bring these blessings and ceremonies and ritual into something that becomes hugely rich and hugely supportive for us, regardless of where we are in our contrast.
Yeah. And we see when things are it's the inevitable Christmas card that pops through that just says, for us, to Nikki, Matt, Oscar and Luna, from so and so, so and so, so and so. There's like, but they've ticked it off. I've sent the Christmas card. Well, I didn't get one in reply, but I could send the most. I probably should get better at Christmas cards, but like I could send the most, like, from the heart voice note, and I always feel like that can mean so much more, rather than ticking that off the list and sort of working it in that way. How do you know what's next for you, or how do you know where to put your attention?
We don't always. That's the truth, and that's
What?
the joy.
I thought you'd know all the answers, Gail. Oh, that's it. No more podcasting.
Get off.
Get off.
Yeah. And is that not the magic? Is that not the magic?
It is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and I have no idea, you know, kind of what's unfurling. All I know is that my job is to head towards it. Because again, it will never be complete. It's not like I'm going to go like, and here's my masterpiece.
Yeah, my 5-year plan in an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, or, you know, it's not like I'm going to be like, oh yeah, so I painted this painting.
Yeah.
You know?
And now I'm a 7-figure business owner, guys. So, and it was just an overnight success. Here we go.
So, you know, for me, what's interesting at the moment, as you know, again, when I wake up, you know, I often, you know, what's my part in this today? You know, I ask myself that every day. I have my clients, my families ask themselves that every day. What's my part in this today? You know, something, you know, that I'm working on at the moment is totally unexpected. That presented itself yesterday as a solution to some of the things that are going on. Interesting, because you know, as momentum is growing, if a problem is gaining momentum, so is its solution.
Right. Because
again, we're the middle of that infinity symbol, right? We're the middle. We're balanced. So I'm not chasing the solution. I'm not chasing the art. It's like chasing an orgasm. You're never going to get it. You're just going to like push it further and further and further and further away. Just to relax, basically.
Yeah. Be in the moment.
Yes, I don't know how, you know, I don't know, you know, I don't know always, you know, and again, I come back to my most important priority is my happiness and my freedom, you know, the reason I like money is because it means I have freedom of choices. You know, the reason I enjoy prosperity is it because it means everything is my favorite. You're my favorite. That's
yes.
my favorite. That's my favorite. Guess what? Nobody becomes the favorite because everything is the favorite. So again, from a creation place, you know, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but you know, ultimately, it involves people. It involves ceremony. You know, it involves teaching. It involves it involves magnetically attracting people who are like me, who love like me, who live in a place of joy, you know, and connecting to all of that universal spirituality, that universal oneness. More of a shape than that, I'm not interested.
No, and that's so interesting what you say about the favorite thing. Like the more you tune in with that, the more that you're like, yes, or you know, that makes the cut of making me feel good. The more you can just repel the stuff that you know. Do you want to come on my hen do where we all wear the same outfit? No, I don't. Do you want to do? No. And the yeses become so much more full and bubbly and embodied, and the no's become no.
That's it. That's the joy, and it's not even then that we need to repel. They just don't exist to us.
Right.
They just exist. You know, and I think that's the joy. I think, you know, there's language and opportunity, and there's scales of emotions that we can play and move up and down. And for me, I'm really interested in the top notes and the melodies and the harmonies. Harmonious, and I'm down the bottom end of the piano. Oh God, like the malaise is too much.
Yes.
There will be days. Well, it's not even days. That's not true. For me, there really are moments of disconnection that can then begin to feel like depression or anxiety.
Yeah.
But really, it is disconnection from this inner being who has all the juice that we need. But again, you know, we're in a place where, you know, we have is particularly Western society, particularly post-industrialization in terms of how we're living, where, you know, we've been told that even within religion, you know, there is a God of our understanding that is outside of us, and you have to go through a brick building to get to it. And if you perform really well in heaven, you shall be rewarded.
Right.
Whereas for me, God is actually this idea, this man-made idea of God is interesting, and this sort of humanized version, of many of the saints and the poets they are all pieces in this great mosaic that we all form part of. It's very much, for me, I exist very much in a Terry Pratchett world. It's like, I think God is like the tortoise and on top of the disc on top of it. Like, it's not all of it. There's so much more. And as an interfaith minister and speaking in this way, I'm completely on the leading edge of something revolutionary, and I'm very, very happy there. And that is great comfort. And again, that's why it doesn't matter where I go, because in conversation with my inner being, she will let me know.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There's a map, there's a plan. We may not know it yet, but there's it's the nudges that you mentioned. Oh, thank you so much for your lovely comment. There's the nudges, and sometimes the nudges for me are in the shape of some kind of pageant mum that I never had in a shell suit going, go on, get to the front, do it bigger, go on, and everything. Or sometimes it's like, come over here, come on, you don't need to be in that space. Why are you there? Come on, quick. And there's all kinds of rhythms. I would love it if anybody has any questions to add to our conversation. Feel free to add them. I'm very conscious of your time as well, because you've got people to see and things to do and all the rest of it. But if anybody does have questions, feel free to answer them. I won't say your name because I'm recording it live for the podcast. So just because of GDPR or some such thing, I'll just keep names private. But what have you got coming up that people can come and experience and be part of? Or if they've just discovered you for the first time through me, like where would be a lovely next step for them?
Yeah, well, if you are, lovely to meet you, number one, hello. So the first thing would be the newsletter, something for the weekend, so people can sign up for that via either my website or the bio in Instagram. That's totally cool. There are also, I have opened the doors to the very first, what we would call in traditional language, group program, but Prosperity Unlock, the fellowship is open. I'm so excited about this 3-month journey that we are going on. And ultimately it's like, if you're ready for a quest, this is your time, this is it, And again, from the hero-heroine journey point of view, I am fully in the role of mentor or your Gandalf, going away. So
the beard will come by week 3.
I can, and and that is about, again, for me, it's about helping people unlock every area of prosperity, which includes, creativity, which includes the heart and love, and which includes money and abundance. So we're going to be working, in master classes together over 3 months, and it's, there's a pay plan that's available, and there's an option to have a one-to-one with me as well. But we're only talking about a few £100. It's really, really accessible, because that's important. And then I will have more online masterclasses coming up as well, which are separate to that. There's a couple the replays are already available on my website, so people can pop and buy them and enjoy them ultimately, and it will feel like you're there, because that's so the joy of it. And there's workbooks, and there's all sorts of lovely things that the practical parts of us enjoy. And and if you're in a place where you have ceremony or ritual needs, and just get in touch via the contact form on the website, and then you can just let me know what you need, and we can have a conversation as to whether I can provide that. And yes, it can happen online, which is the absolute joy of all of this, because we're all in the same time and space anyway, so simply the fact that it's through a screen matters not.
No.
That
Yeah. Well, we only have to go back to the 80s and 90s of being obsessed with Neighbours and Home and Away, the fact that we felt like we knew them all so well, and it's just like, we really didn't. But yeah, you're right. It's holding that space. It's connecting with people on so many levels, and it's so bizarre for me that I've never met so many of the people who have impacted my life so heavily. I was watching something by Danielle Laporte the other day, and I was just like, oh, that nugget, I remember it from 2012. Oh, thank you for that. And you know, the work lives on. If you can, yeah.
Gosh. And I feel what's really interesting is one of the things for me that's very beautiful right now is this idea of almost celebrity hierarchy dissolving.
Yes.
And the idea that somebody's up there and somebody else is down here. You know, there is this really beautiful opportunity that's happening where actually, if you feel like you want to reach out and ask someone a question, or you know, if there's a nudge to reach out and somebody's got, you know, a podcast or something's going on, actually right now is the time. Right now is the time, because actually vulnerability is present, and that leads to a lot of art.
Yes.
And I think that's what's really, really beautiful. So again, I'm not sure why we think we have to physically be in the same room as people to meet them. You know, I think there is this wonderful meeting of hearts that's happening all over, and with, you know, however we move forward and whatever happens, it's again when we come back to this unity, this oneness, this interconnectedness, this in your morning meditation, in your morning prayer, from a place of thanks, just imagining all those billions and billions of little candle lights, you know, flickering. And you are in that. That's you. That's us. That's all of us. And that's beautifully powerful and a reason to create wonderful art that may also be in service to people, which is a bonus, quite frankly.
I found that with this podcast, the fact that my voice has been in countries I've never been to, that sort of blows my mind, of like, Kenya, I see you and I will be there in person one day, but for now that you're experiencing that, or I guess this is why I sort of started it, is because I wanted people to be able to earwig into conversations even at that stage where they've just got a little seed of an idea of like, oh, maybe, oh no, oh, but, well, just listen, that sort of forward back, shaking it all about, because this is what we need to do, keep talking about the stuff. But yeah, would you remind us of your website and where people can come and see you and experience, and what's your IGTV videos? I loved that whole series about your moving house and working through that process.
Yes, I do. I like a good move, and this has been a wonderful one. I've never been happier having moved back to Scotland, so it's such a joy. But so on Instagram it's Gail_Love Schock, and Schock is SCHOCK, and my website is my name basically, so it's GailLoveSchock.com. Easy peasy to find and have a little scroll about on there basically. And also to say to people, it is evolving at the moment, so it's a bit like Lego house that I keep adding rooms and taking walls down on, so forgive me that. I'm in the middle of painting, so
yeah, I hear you. Yeah, but that's the thing, online life is a work in progress, and I do have those moments sometimes where I look at a page and I'm like, no, who wrote this? Like, this is so not relevant anymore, or I need to switch and I need to pivot and rework it. And absolutely, well, thank you so much for this really glorious chat today. We're homeschool, well, not homeschooling really, because my son's not quite at school yet, but we're doing some sort of quiz, some treasure hunt this afternoon. So it's funny that you said treasure hunt as well, and then to try and get outside whilst we can. Nature, the heath, much needed.
Definitely. Well, it's been lovely speaking to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Now, over to you. As I always say in my speaking gigs, I don't want you just to feel inspired and motivated. I want you to make some moves and take action. So firstly, tag me across social media at Nikki Raby and let me know where you're listening and what you're going to do. And then book a free strategy call with me via my website, nikkiraby.com, www.thebrandingcoach.com/free session. If you have enjoyed the episodes, please do give a 5-star rating, review, subscribe and share. And I can't wait to spend some more time with you very soon. Thank you so much for listening and for all your support.